Hello and welcome to this episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my absolute privilege to be joined by the fabulous Katrena Friel. Katrina, welcome.
Hello. Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you too. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. But before we get stuck in, because I know we can get carried away, let me share a little bit more about you with our audience. So Katrina is an international keynote speaker. She's a #1 best-selling author of 4 books, a fully qualified corporate trainer, executive coach, award-winning author, and business mentor. She's an expert in personal and professional development, helping people escape their current thinking in an express format, and with people reporting that they learn more about themselves and others than they have in the last 20 years. Her aim is to inspire, align, and activate. And Katrina's energy and expressive approach will energize and challenge your behaviors, beliefs, and thinking, giving you a sense of confidence, self-belief, and self-value. And that's just the start, isn't it? And I get that immediately when we chat. You just feel the energy rise. So Katrina, can you tell us a bit more about your journey so far, please?
Well, I had 25 years in corporate, and then I got ripped off $30,000 as I transitioned out of corporate into a coaching business, and the rest is history. I'm now sort of over 25 years into it and loving every minute of it. And I started to get people saying, you know, I want to do what you do. How do you do it? And that's where my business was born, out of that question that I used to get every day of the week whenever I worked.
Oh, so, I love that. Well, not that you got ripped off. I mean, that it can be so hard, can't it? That transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, and I hear so many horror stories of how people are mistreated as they make that transition. But 30,000, I mean, that's quite a lesson to learn, isn't it?
Well, that's it. And between you and I, who work in this space, we all know that these so-called mistakes and horror stories are actually lessons, and there is a lot of value in them. But at the time, you don't really know that properly. But now when I look back, I use those sort of things. They are stories to help teach. And so for me, I tell that story. There is a long version of it, and the long version is that I had already left my well-paying corporate job. I had seen this colour ad, and in those days, colour ads in a newspaper were brand new, like never seen. And when I saw the ad, it's like they were it was written for me. It was saying, Katrena Friel, will you please call? That's how it felt. It really connected with my dreams and my wants and my desires. But the guy was obviously a fraud and a weirdo. And, you know, at the time of meeting him, I actually felt all those feelings and actually knew my gut was speaking to me loud and clear. But of course, my desire was so high that I ignored my inner compass like that. And of course, if you don't listen to your gut, you get a bad outcome. But the great outcome was when I went to, went to see my lawyer and say to him, okay, here's the paperwork, here's all the evidence, here's what I bought, here's what I didn't get. He was wonderful. He said to me, Katrena, can I ask you a question? And I went, yes, of course. He said, is there any chance that you've learnt a $30,000 lesson? And in that moment, I felt my body go, and it just clicked and changed everything in that second. And I said to him, thank you. Yes, I actually have. And then, you know, now I can explain that the lesson that I learned was that everything I needed was inside of me. I didn't need that guy. That was me thinking I needed a white older gentleman to help the little me through the woods. But in fact, it showed me that I did it. So I made sure that I became, from that moment, I just worked hard, and the rest is history. I've been in business now for 25 years, or over 25 years. And that was my start. And the start was, you rely on yourself. Everything I needed was already inside of me. And I just needed to get out there and do what I naturally could do. And that is coach people.
I love that, Katrina. And I think, one thing I often say is, if life's taught me anything, is that everything in it is a lesson, a blessing, or both. And when I don't feel blessed, I should look for the lesson, and that's where the blessing will be.
Yes, exactly.
And life does only make sense often in the rear view mirror when you look back and go, right, that is why I went through that. That's what I needed to learn. That's what I needed to trust. And I love you sharing about when we don't trust our gut, because we do, don't we? We get these like really strong feelings, and then we over rationalize them, and we allow our thinking brain to step in, and it usually pulls us into the fearful of, but if I don't take this opportunity, I won't be successful, because I need this person, to your point, I need this person to help me through. And actually, no, you don't. The thing you need to help you through is to trust you, is to learn to go inward, isn't it? And to become your own compass. But that's a hard thing to start. And I know that's something that you do with your clients, is help them do that inner journey to connect to their inner strength, isn't it? And then shine their light on the world.
Yes.
But how does that work? How do people come to that? Do you find that they're a little bit apprehensive at first, or?
Well, the clients that I actually end up with, the ones that actually come, pay their money and do the work, are the ones that talk themselves into it. And they are very few. Yeah. The rest of them love the idea. It sounds intuitively correct. They love me. They want to work with me. It all sounds so brilliant and magical. And then they're fabulous at talking themselves out of it. So it's so sad to watch those people that would have been the perfect client. They are the perfect avatar, but they're just not able to step into trusting that if they did it, that they would get everything that they need to get started in their own business and in their own personal brand business, specifically within 7 streams of income and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the ones that I really want to work with, because I never invite anyone to work with that I don't personally want to work with. So anyone I do I lose because of that reason. They have talked themselves out of it. And you know what? It's not my job to sell you anything. You either want the vision that I've outlined or you don't. And it's just such a shame that so many people have inbred in them the ability to talk themselves out of not just me, but everything. And so they never truly live to their full potential. And that, to you and I, is sad.
It is.
So sad I could cry.
It does, because I think when you, it always makes me smile. And I did my TEDx on this. It's like, the thing that we're fearful of, we've had to imagine. It hasn't happened yet, so we've had to think about what that looks like, what it feels like, what it's going to be. And the thing we're hopeful for also hasn't happened yet, so we've had to think about it. We've had to imagine it. We've had to go, what was it going to look and feel like? And both of them are imagined in exactly the same brain, so they're equally credible. And yet we choose to believe that the thing we're fearful of is more likely and more credible than the thing we're hopeful for. And it misdirects us constantly. And I've been the biggest enemy of myself for very many years until I learned it. And even when I first got into coaching, I was still an enemy of it for myself. I'd hear myself chat to people and go, good advice, Kim, you're not taking it. Advice. And maybe you need to take your own medicine now and kind of do that work. But it takes courage, doesn't it, to step into your light rather than remain in the dark where it feels a bit safer.
Yes. I don't want to get too esoterical or too spiritual, but if anybody's listening to this and sort of resonating with what we're talking about here, go and download a picture of the Fool in the tarot deck. There's you can just go on Google and Google the tarot, the Fool, which is naught, the first one. And if you research the Fool, he's stepping off into the unknown. And that's where you are when you work with someone like you and I, is you are about to step off the cliff into the unknown. And we're trained to not like the unknown, stay in the safe zone, stay in your comfort zone, stay where you won't get hurt, ripped off, nothing bad will happen. But I tell you what, you'll end up bored. And bored is where you start this journey from. If you're not bored, you won't make any changes. If there's no pain, you won't make any changes. But the pain starts with a very subtle sense of boredom.
Yeah.
Now, if you are bitter, angry, furious, well, then you've left it probably 20 years, beyond the board. But I want to capture people at that boredom stage where they just go, they get there about 35. Usually about 35, you start to go, is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it? Are you freaking kidding me? Is this it? And it's a very quiet murmur to yourself going, oh, my God, is this it? And you and I just went, it can't be it. And we made changes and we developed ourselves and we invested in time, energy, money, the whole shebang. And here we are now helping other people. But, wow, it starts with boredom and it tends to be subtle, quiet boredom.
Completely get that. And I think one of the beauties of kind of what you do is sharing that lived experience. It's like, I get it. I was there. I felt I had that moment where it was like, am I missing something?
Is this it? This can't be it. Is this my full potential? Is this all I'm capable of? Are you serious?
Is there not something else or something more or something different? And then you really try and talk yourself out of that, going, no, get over yourself. What gives you the right to think you're so much better? And I think, I was chatting to somebody the other day, I think a lot of the sayings that we grew up with haven't helped us. So I grew up with phrases like sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And yet we know the damage that name calling and things is doing to our mental health. And I was also told to be seen and not heard. I failed really dismally at that, Katrina. That is not one that I'm living particularly well. But for me, one of the ones that I think is really causing us a lot of problem was curiosity killed the cat. We shouldn't be curious.
I haven't heard that in years, but you're absolutely right. That is an old one.
It is, but you're like, actually, our curiosity is our superpower as children. We're curious about everything. I look at my little girl, and it's whys. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I am like, really? Well, I'm 15 layers of why. I have no idea. I'm at a loss as to what the next answer is. But I think, becoming passionately curious about yourself and others is the moment where you start to unlock your potential and you start to go, oh, actually, there is more I can offer, there's more I can do. But you're right, it comes first from that being bored of what the lack of curiosity has provided you with so far.
You bet. Yeah, that's beautiful. And to be curious is to be natural and normal. They've beaten that out of us in society and our upbringing, whether it's our parents and then the schooling system and then the work culture beats it out of you. I remember being told in every job practically I had is we don't pay you to think. And the minute anyone would say we don't pay you to think, because obviously I was an ideas person, improved person, and I always came up with these stupid ideas, whatever. And I always used to get told, we don't pay you to think. And every time they said that, that's when I'd start the process of leaving.
Yeah.
Every time, because I knew that was not the culture for me. I was naturally curious, naturally wanted to know stuff and how to improve things around me. From people to process, it didn't really matter what improved or changed. I just wanted novelty, something new to develop. And, to not pay me to think, it's like, wow, are you kidding me? You're shutting me off.
Yeah.
I'm an engaged person in your business and you don't want me engaged? Well done. Congratulations, switching somebody like my mind off.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because that often that is their fear of like what's the unknown, because when you're an ideas person you're going to come up with the unknown a lot. And I used to, particularly when I was in the throes of massive imposter syndrome, I used to say that I made my career out of asking the dim girl questions. The stupid ones. I now realize I actually made my career out of asking the curious questions. So why do we do that? Why do you think that? Why do I think this? Why is that going over there? Because actually it's in asking those questions that you find the right answer, isn't it? And that's kind of what happens with clients. Is you get the right question. I don't know if you find this as well. I see the moment where you've hit the exact right question.
Yeah.
And the moment when they get the answer for themselves, and then they get their energy lifts, and they're kind of all bought in, and you're like, all it needed was the right wording of that question. They might have been asked a similar question a million times. Once you get the right one, it's like gold, isn't it?
Poof, mind blown.
Yeah. Not that obviously we want to blow people's minds, but in a good way.
It's in a good way. I do. I pride myself on hearing most often, I never thought about it that way. My whole career's been built on, oh, I never thought about it that way. And that's what I want for people, to come in and be refreshed by my point of view, and for me to help them move out of that mindset to this mindset within a question, within a conversation, within one sentence. You can pop people's mindsets so quickly, so easily. And I want people going, oh, I never thought about it that way. And I love that. That just makes my day when I hear that. It's what I'm out to achieve.
We live in a world of polarity. There's no up without a down. There's no left without a right. So once you get people to realize that whatever they're thinking, the exact opposite could also be true, it allows them to really see the art of the possible. And it always reminds me of Einstein's quote that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. I believe the same is true of every thought. So for every thought we have, there is an equal and opposite thought that is equally true. And once we get comfortable with being curious about that, then actually we become the sponges we were designed to be, which is to absorb all of the knowledge and wisdom that's around us, and get out of our own way. Because I think, and I know from myself, I was in my own way for a long time. And I love it when I help clients get out of their own way and go, it doesn't have to be as hard as you're making it.
No, in fact, life's meant to be the opposite of hard, but it's the human way. There has to be pain for change. And I think what we're seeing with the New World Order, the awakening, the ascension, whatever you want to call it, that's going on right now, and that is that we are going to go away from humans need pain to change. I think that's what we're going to leave behind. What we're going to walk into is joy for the sake of joy, adventure, curiosity, loving life, and how easy can it be? How easy, that's the achievement. How easy can it actually get? And those that don't move into the new paradigm will still be sitting in pain and still only changing and evolving when it's a reaction to something. Whereas I believe 10% of people right now are proactive with their development, are proactive with their evolution, whereas 90%ers only change through pain.
Yeah.
And they are lifelong learners. I call the top 10% in this world activated lifelong learners. And they're proactively doing it for themselves, co-creating with the universe. Whereas these other people are just reactive to God knows what, a retrenchment, a sacking, something awful happened, or, they're over it and, they have to make changes. Whereas what if you didn't have to do anything? What if you could just do whatever the frig you wanted to do? Imagine that.
Oh, I love that. I reread recently, because I've read it a few times before, a book by Florence Scovel Shine, which is The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Cute.
She was back in, I think she wrote it back in the 1920s, late 1920s, early 1930s. And her whole premise was actually, we've got our thinking wrong. She was a metaphysicist. So I was an artist and moved into it. And it all talks about actually changing our thinking. So, we win it here before we win it out here. And actually, we don't have to do things because they're hard. We can do things because they bring us joy. And if we believe that the joy is going to get us there, the joy will get us there. But if we allow ourselves to move into the doubting Thomas area, then that's what we're going to create. That's what we're going to to deliver. And it was fascinating because she lived by no apparent means, but she lived well. But because she believed in what she was doing, and went on to to treat hundreds of people. But I loved it. It was that whole let's change the script.
Yeah.
The script we've got doesn't work for us, then we should change it. We don't have to go back to one of my old, the old phrases that don't help us. You know, you made your bed, you've got to lie in it. No, it's your bed. Get out.
Change the sheets.
Change it. It's like it's in your gift to do. But we've got to challenge that thinking first, haven't we? We've got to be willing to go. And how best do you think people make that shift?
Well, first of all, throw the mattress on the floor. Get outside that box. And the box is our programming from our mother, all the mother stuff. So we don't only pick up the good stuff from our mother, but we pick up all the shit bits too. And then the stuff from our father. So between 0 and 7, obviously, all that programming happens between how are we going to, you know, process the world? How are we going to live in the world? It's all happened between 0 and 7. I mean, that is still crazy to me to think that it just goes back. That's our operating system. Was installed in us. And then obviously a little bit more modeling happens as you get into a teenager and blah, blah, the rest is, and then there you are.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find still fascinating, and my coaching session just a couple of hours ago had the exact same issue, is they don't realize they can upgrade the operating system, and they don't know that you can change the programming, you can change the software. And who would not want to upgrade their software and not have the 5-year-old dictate how they live life? It's crazy to me, but they simply don't know. You and I worked it out. I had my, you know, I've been into this stuff for decades and decades, and so luckily I was curious enough to stumble across it really early. That's good on me. But other people are 41. The woman tonight was 42 and still didn't know that you can change it, and that there was an operating system, and that there was software, and that software can be upgraded. Had no clue.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You know, I know when I found my way into this, I was very much, I can help other people to do that, but I still didn't really upgrade my own software particularly until a little bit later. And you're right, you know, I needed something really painful to force me to do what I'd been doing for other people for years. And going, actually, you deserve that too.
Well, no wonder you had imposter syndrome.
It was pretty. And now looking back, it was hilarious.
Yes, it is hilarious.
It was really funny, and people thought I was an absolute crazy person because I was behaving one way, and even down to when I did my TEDx a couple of years ago, the guy that was running it, he came out afterwards and he said, I've just got to say, he said, you really make me smile. And I said, you've been so kind to everybody. You did everyone's hair, you did their makeup before they went out. You were like, come on, you've got a great story. You're going to rock this. He said, and then I heard what you said to yourself before you went out. And I was like, oh, I didn't think anyone heard that.
Yeah.
So while I've been really cheering everybody else on, I stood in front of, it was a window so I could see my reflection, and went, for crying out loud, it's 12 minutes of your life. Get over yourself and get it done.
Yeah.
And it was like, just interesting the way you choose to speak to yourself versus the way you choose to speak to others. And I said, I've done a lot of the programming work. I'm still on my journey. Now I'm much better at it. And it's like, is that what you'd say to your friend? And why can't we be our own best friend? Why do we insist on taking the role of being our own worst enemy? And for me, that was one of my moments of really making that shift. That's going, I have to take myself wherever I go. I've tried leaving myself behind. It doesn't work. I go. So I may as well work on how do I get to like myself.
Yes.
And then it is like, trying to avoid myself, because that's just never going to work. And I see that with clients. It took me quite a while to acknowledge that and change that for me as a person.
Yes.
What would you say has been your biggest lesson so far?
Well, based on your story, and I think I can definitely relate to that, is that we have big muscle on giving. Give, big muscle, big and strong on the giving. And then where's the muscle on the receiving? I have no idea. Most people that I coach have no muscle on the ability to receive with grace. And your story tells me, giver, 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 giver. Well done. Clap yourself. Pat yourself on the back. You're the winner in the giving community. And then how good are you over here? Where's the trophy? Are you great? Are you practiced? Have you gone to the gym of receiving with grace? Most people haven't. And so what I did is I used that to deflect. And so what I would do is I didn't want to talk about myself. I couldn't be bothered. I knew everything I needed to know about myself, what I was interested in others. And so I directed my giving at giving to others through time, energy, love, attention. And I would give and I'd give and I'd give and I'd give, and I had nothing left.
Yeah.
Myself at all. And so now I'm in the shift of that over to, hang on a minute, stop, spend time with myself, listen to myself. Where's the joy for me? Where's the achievement for me? What is it that I want to do? And spend just as much time giving to myself as I would for others. And that is going to be an ongoing journey, because my natural state, my natural curiosity is to project outward.
Yeah.
I'm a projector in human design, and so I'm built that way.
Yeah.
I can't help it. I'm not interested in myself. I'm only interested in projecting outward. So it's a huge learning curve. There's a lot of muscle in the giving, not a lot of muscle in the receiving. And we get really uncomfortable when somebody pays us a compliment or pays us attention or asks us a question. I used to squirm when somebody would say, Katrina, how are you? No, really, how are you? And I'm like, good. That's all I got. Oh my God. But anyway, enough about me. Now tell me, how are you doing? Very quick to shift that conversation. And what I realized was my true friends were the ones that made space for me. And everybody else was really happy for me to explore them.
Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of two things. One, whenever anybody asks me a question like, how are you? I go, I'm fine, which I say, everybody who ever knows me, if I say fine, I mean fed up, insecure, neurotic and emotional. I'm anything but fine, if that's the word that I've used. So get me a glass of wine or a cup of tea. Don't take me up. But the other one was what my friend lovingly calls the thrift shop brush off. And when people pay you a compliment, you immediately go, oh, this, just a fiver. And it was a real lesson, and it took a long time to be able to just go, thank you.
Yes.
Full stop. I don't now need to push it away, to get rid of it or drop it. And the lady who helped me with that, she said, imagine when someone's giving you a compliment, they've gone out of themselves to do that. So imagine they've just handed you the most fragile, beautiful glass ornament that they possibly could. If you immediately brush it off, you may as well have just opened your hands and dropped the ornament. Would you do that? And I was like, God, no, I wouldn't. I said, no, but the minute you reflect or deflect their compliment, you're basically saying, I don't need it. And I was like, oh my God, that's not what I meant. I kind of meant, I don't deserve it. I didn't mean I don't need it. But it was a really helpful for me shift of thinking that allowed me to realize that I was being kinder by accepting and receiving that kindness than I was by deflecting that kindness, which ended up hurting both of us because I didn't receive anything. To your point, that muscle was, in need of help. But equally, I was inadvertently harming the other person because I wasn't taking their gift with the grace within which they gave it.
And to me, it's even goes further than that. It's absolutely rude because it's saying your opinion that you just gave me is absolutely stupid and ridiculous. If you're saying this old dress for $5, you're saying my opinion about the taste of that beautiful dress that I think is beautiful. You're saying my taste is wrong.
Yeah.
And that I shouldn't like that dress and I shouldn't pay attention to that dress, and that dress is just $5. Like, you're an idiot for not even knowing that. And it's so, to me, it's rude. So saying thank you is the polite thing to do at the very least. and then owning it and saying, oh my God, I love this dress too. I agree. In other words, I agree with your opinion, because otherwise, why would we wear the dress or put our hair like this or put our makeup on like this or whatever else they're complimenting us? And so it's amazing that we've got to learn just to say thank you and be a little bit more, I don't know, what's the word? More generous.
Yeah.
More generous with ourselves and them.
I love that, and that it really resonates. I remember many years ago suddenly realizing, I have that moment where you're like, hold on, you don't value your opinion very much. It's probably about 20 years ago, and yet your opinion that you're rubbish at everything, you believe is greater than all these people that are giving you jobs, that are giving you awards, that are telling you that you're good at your job. And I'm like, if only they knew, was in my head. And I was like, so you're saying your opinion is better than their opinion? And I was like, well, no, I'm not. I don't think that at all. And I was like, but that's what you're living.
Yes.
Choosing to live that way, as if your opinion that you're rubbish is more relevant and more likely than you're good at this.
Then all the evidence. There's all the evidence. You've actually got no evidence that you're going to fail. You've got no evidence that you're shit. You've got no evidence of any of that. And yet we think that's true. I call that the lies we tell ourselves. We are lying to ourselves morning, noon, and night about everything.
I love that. One of my first published articles was called "I'm not enough: the lies we tell ourselves."
Yes,
it is lies, isn't it? And
lies, they're not even true.
And then when you start to realize that actually they're not true, you get that real breakthrough. Katrina, I could literally chat to you all day, but I'm really conscious of your time. You've already shared so generously with us, but can I ask you to share one final generous tip with us, which is, if you could go back and give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
I'd look myself straight in the eye and say, you are enough, honey. You are enough.
I love that. And you absolutely are enough, Katrina. So how can people get in touch? I mean, obviously, we'll make sure everything is in the notes below. But what's the best way for people to engage with you? And who do you best help? You know, who are the people? Who are your tribe that you're looking for?
Well, I'm looking for people that know deep inside that they are superstars, ready to burst through and become what you and I do for a living. And so the website to find me on and explore that concept is becomingtheexpert.com.au because I'm in Australia, so don't forget that bit. But becomingtheexpert.com.au, we talk about building your own personal brand in 90 days, just like magic, with 7 streams of income, and it's fantastic. But before you would sign up to something like that, we would connect with a free discovery session. So just book a free discovery session. What's the worst that can happen is that you can have absolute clarity within 15 minutes of your life purpose and how it relates to your soul purpose. And I give that away for free, like just because I met you and I got to spend time with you and you got to just trust your instincts for a change. Now, we may go on to do the program, we may not, doesn't even matter. But that's the way to work with me initially, and just costs you nothing.
Oh, I love that. And what an amazing gift, because I think helping people to connect with their purpose and find that clarity is one of the greatest gifts, and to be involved in that is it's gift enough, isn't it? It's gift enough. And then if you go on to work with them, you get the greater gift of seeing them achieve that soul purpose. Katrina, it's been an absolute joy. You've shared so much. I've loved being in your energy. And I so look forward to our next conversation. And to everybody listening and watching, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Until next time, take care.
Take care.